This is the Ballin' Out Podcast, your weekly breakdown of Red Raider basketball from Double T 97.3 and Double T Sportsnetwork.com.
Somebody else says if Federico is a senior, Tech will need another paint protector. You need a paint protector whether Federico is back or not.
Agreed.
Texas Tech basketball potentially getting Federico back with the Diego Pavea rules because he started at junior college.
That's what it sounds like.
Or at least available to.
Yeah, I think that I think you're in a good spot because if you get Fetty back, then it's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But if you don't get him back, you should be able to replace similarly, if not better.
All right, if you didn't know, Chois and I, part of the Gaslighters Podcast, along with Clint Scott, with the two of us today here today, one of those sentences, we thought we'd give you a sneak peek into the Gaslighters as we move forward. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Texas Tech basketball in the NCAA tournament have won 2 games now. The first game, a 3-point barrage. Kerwin Walton dominates. The second game, a paint presence barrage. JT Toppin, Darian Williams dominate. Have you ever seen a team in back-to-back games do things more differently than Texas Tech did?
I think that's amazing. I don't think you've ever seen a team in the tournament do this. I mean, and we speak in hyperbole, but I would love for someone to find 2 vastly, just completely contrasting games like Texas Tech played from the first round to the second round. And it's not like one weekend to the next. It is 2 days.
Yeah, 48 hours.
Thursday to Saturday. And Texas Tech goes from shooting 46 three-point shots in one game, which is well documented, NCAA tournament record, Texas Tech record for most attempts. And you weren't making it a high clip, but you were attempting at a high clip. And then you go where you beat a team by 30 points in the paint the next game. I think that speaks to what we've talked about all year, and it's the chameleon type of team you've got to adapt and adjust and win games in various ways. But you haven't seen it, I guess, as glaringly as we saw in those 2 games as an example. And I love that about this team is that you can win in a variety of ways. And it's people overuse the term pick your poison, but it is absolutely that with Texas Tech's offense.
I brought up on the end of the bench and the last couple of weeks here on the Gaslighters, who's going to be your second option in the NCAA tournament? And that first game, because JT Toppin's your first option.
Yeah.
He's a Big 12 Player of the Year.
Yeah.
That first game is Kerwin Walton. And Kerwin Walton really your first option in that game. He was the best player.
He was, yeah.
And maybe Elijah Hawkins was the second best player. And then you go to the second game, and, hey, maybe Darian Williams was your best player. JT Toppin was your second best. It's hard to differentiate there. They both had such good games. But, again, it was Elijah Hawkins who was great again. He's been the glue, and if you had a tournament MVP so far to get to the Sweet 16, I think I would give it to Elijah Hawkins.
Yeah, Hawkins is 1 rebound off of a triple-double in that first game. Hawkins he has 7 assists and 0 turnovers. 0 turnovers in almost 40 minutes of a tournament game is pretty wild for a point guard. But Hawkins has been phenomenal. And I think when I look at this team and you look at we've talked about the options and how deep you are when it comes to scoring the basketball. You did not shoot the ball well against UNC Wilmington and still scored 82 points. Didn't shoot it that well. You still didn't shoot great against Drake, but you got a lot cleaner looks inside. And I think you're not going to change a thing from these 2 games. You're not going to change the approach. This is what we've seen all year. And I know we got a whole lot of, what the heck are we doing? Why are you not throwing it to JT Toppin in the first game? I think there were absolutely shots that were ill-advised or rushed in that first game, but not the majority of them.
Yeah.
You took 46 threes. At least 30 of those threes are good shots within the offense. And that's what you've done all year with this basketball team, is when you throw it inside and there's a double team, the team's picking that poison, hey, we're going to go take JT Toppin away, you kick it out and you've hit shots on the outside. You just didn't hit that night. More often than not, you're going to hit shots. So then Drake says, no, we'll take away the 3 ball. We'll kind of help a little on Toppin here and there, but mostly they're not going to let Tech beat them with the 3, and you kill them inside. So it's no different than we've seen the entire year.
Give me I've got 2 words for you.
Okay.
Give me 2 words on Texas Tech's first 2 rounds, because I've got 2 words. I want to see if you give up something similar.
2 words on the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Versatile would be one of them. And I don't know. I feel like I'm being tested right now.
No, I
feel like this is a test. I don't want to.
Versatile goes in with mine.
I don't want to lose.
Would you rather just give me yours?
Yeah. You give first, and then I'll.
Executed game plans.
Okay.
Executed game plans. I think the coaching in the first 2 games was tremendous.
Agreed.
And I think a lot of times you go through college basketball games and say, those are elite players. That's a great team. That's a good roster.
Yeah.
And not enough, I think, with Grant McCasland. You say, holy cow, he drew up some great game plans. He did exactly what he wanted to do against Drake. And I don't think it looked exactly like they wanted it to against UNCW, but it worked. It worked by a 10-point victory.
I think the only lack of execution within that game is just not hitting shots.
Yeah, 20% from 3 with anyone beyond Kerwin Walton.
Yeah, you shoot 28 as a team and 20% without, Kerwin Walton.
He hit 8 of them, so
yeah,
it worked.
You needed that. You needed him. But I think you executed exactly what you're trying to do in that game plan. And I think this team is versatile. I think this team is absolutely dangerous. Now, where you are thinner, obviously, is the lack of Chance McMillan. That one extra score, and he's one of your big 3. He's one of your definitely 4 most important players. But I think what you lack with him is true leadership. And I think Darian brings you some of that, but I think Chance McMillan is the heart of this team, and I want to see that on the floor, even if it's not at 100%. I hope you get to see that on Thursday.
The final piece to the puzzle, I think, would be Christian Anderson, who has not started well. There's talk of him being sick in the early rounds, leaving a lot of shots short. Sometimes when you look at freshmen, you say, hey, the moment's too big. I don't think that's the case for Christian Anderson at all.
Because I don't think you shoot 9 shots in each game if the moment's too big. Once you miss a few, I think you start passing. You passing up shots, and he kept shooting, and he hits a big one at the end of the UNCW game, and he hits a big one at the end of the Drake game. And while those were the only 2 threes he's hit in the tournament, they were big in their moment. It was kind of the one that separates the game from Drake, and the one against UNCW is also kind of they're both,
in
getting
different
this game
ways,
at arm's length type of stuff.
Do you think that one against Drake kind of shakes loose because that's the 1 3 he hit?
I think it is more about the
see one go in, man.
Yeah, that I do think there's some
illness and some IVs,
some illness stuff going on there. Yeah. So 5 days rest, or getting off your feet a little bit. And there's only so much of that because you're traveling to San Francisco this week, which is a shorter trip for Tech than the other 3. But, I think hopefully that does break loose of some cobwebs there.
Yeah, I love that the West region features Gainesville and Fayetteville.
Remember, that's how I say remember. Before we were born, that's how the tournament used to be set up, is actually regional.
Yeah.
That's why UCLA won so many in a row.
Some effort for it to be that way in some ways, but doesn't seem like much effort this year.
Not really. It's like, we'll throw Florida, the 1 seed, all the way across the country, which I'm okay with.
As part of the Gaslighters podcast, we looked back on the first 2 rounds of the tournament. Now I want to look ahead to the next 2 rounds of the tournament. Certainly, you have a for-sure opponent And the Arkansas Razorbacks, you're favored by 6 or 7. Texas Tech the favorite. This is a 10 seed. But I don't think they're 10 seed quality. I think they're a much better team than a 10 seed. They, have a lot of talent, I would say.
Okay.
I think they've dealt with a lot of injuries. They started the season with some really bad injuries. They had a lot of injuries in the middle of the year. But I think they finished pretty strong in SEC play. They don't have a lot of bad losses. So I think this team is a little bit better than a 10 seed. I don't think they're like, this is just the talent of a 2 seed. And they just, had so many. I don't think it's that. But I do think Arkansas is a little bit better than they've been given credit for.
Yeah.
Obviously, John Calipari is a guy who's coached a lot, has won some games in the NCAA tournament, obviously. Won a national championship. But I think Texas Tech feels like the clear favorite to me as a homer. But nationally, I think Arkansas is maybe a team that people look that aren't really following college basketball, that just see John Calipari, just see Arkansas, and might say that's a trendy upset pick. Though you've seen John Fanta and some college basketball experts now turning Texas Tech into a Final Four team over Florida.
Yeah, I think that Florida had the scare with UConn, and obviously everything that happens over these previous weeks, they're like, oh, okay, now this could happen or this could happen. I don't think things change a whole lot. I don't think teams are getting hot during the tournament. I think you're looking at Arkansas that's gotten healthy, and that's what makes Arkansas dangerous. Is they've got a team that's been banged up in and out all year, struggled through a good SEC with that, but Arkansas is one of the hottest teams in the country coming into the tournament. You look at what they had to do to just get there. They won. I think they were sitting at 4-9 in league play, 4-9, and they made their way to 8-10, and that's what they had to end up doing, winning 5 out of 6 or 4 out of 5 to finish off SEC play. And I think that's what makes the Razorbacks dangerous, is they're playing with more confidence and with more health than they were before. That all being said, I think healthy Texas Tech is better than healthy Arkansas. Now this is a team that's similar to Kansas in that they were very highly touted in the preseason, looked at as a dangerous team, but haven't lived up to some of that hype. Texas Tech has been very consistent this year. And if you get good version of Texas Tech, I am confident that you will win over Arkansas on Thursday. Question is, what's your good version look like? Are you going to shoot the ball better than you've shot the first 2 weeks or first 2 games from outside? Will you get one of your best shooters back in Chance McMillan? There's so many unknowns going into this game from a Texas Tech perspective. Does Christian Anderson break out of his little funk that he had for the first 2 games? I think I can draw some encouragement from is you were nowhere close to your best games. You weren't close to your best basketball in those first 2 games of the NCAA tournament, and you're in the Sweet 16. There's a lot of teams that don't make it to that point because they have a bad game or get beat by a hot team. So Arkansas's – I am definitely more confident playing Arkansas than I would have been playing St. John's. And St. John's is a team that just didn't have a whole lot of offense. Arkansas surrendered 28 offensive rebounds to St. John's. If they give you 14, 15 offensive rebounds, you should wipe the floor with Arkansas.
Arkansas also missing Adouth Thiero, who is their leading scorer, potentially could be coming back for this next round.
Right, that's thought that's possible.
We've not seen him in a while. I think Jonas Adu is a guy that has not been a player all year long that's been great, but I think he's peaked in the last couple of weeks on this hot run.
Mm-hmm.
He's been a guy who stepped up. Obviously, I think their best player I don't know. I guess their best player would be Boogie Fland, who's got 14.2 points per game.
Yeah.
on this season. But I really do think Adu and Trayvon Brazil, have been very good in this kind of stretch.
Yeah.
They've got some guards that play well. They've had to kind of learn depth because of some injuries. You kind of just have to play guys that weren't expecting to play, but I think they've played well down the stretch again. They were very bad for a while there in SEC play. But they also they don't shoot the three well.
Yeah.
And, they don't rebound well.
Right.
They have the size advantage. They'll have the size advantage. They've had the size advantage. But I don't know if they're not tough or not aggressive rebounding. They don't see it well, like Dennis Rodman, who learned to position himself and went this way and that way. Mm-hmm. Again, I've been watching The Last Dance. But it just feels like you have some advantages here that are very, very strong advantages. I would pick Texas Tech to beat Arkansas.
Yeah, I think there are absolutely advantages in this game. Now, what comes into question is if you run into any sort of tighter whistle or anything that gets JT Toppin in foul trouble, I get pretty nervous at that point. I think Arkansas is going to approach this like Drake approached it defensively, in that they'll say, hey, we got size, we can play JT Toppin one-on-one. We're not going to crash help from the outside every time and open up three-point shooters.
Good luck.
And then what we've seen so much this year is if teams do that, and you'll watch almost every game, JT Toppin's going to get the ball 3 times in the first 5 possessions or so. You feed him, and it's more of a, hey, let's see what they're going to do to us type of thing. It's, hey, if they're going to crash in and dig and try to get JT Toppin doubled off quickly, then we're going to kill you on the outside or attempt to kill you on the outside. If they don't do that, big man, go to work. It's your day. And I think what's so impressive about Toppin is, and where he will continue to be underestimated when it comes to the draft and those sorts of things, he has a special twitch to him. Toppin is undersized for a guy that plays his position, but he's still able to get the ball to the hoop over and over. He rarely ever gets a shot blocked. Rarely. It happens some, but it's rare because he's so quick getting rid of that basketball and so accurate even though he's quick. So if Arkansas, I prefer that. If Arkansas wants to go one-on-one, then I think Toppin's going to be able to eat in the first half. And then I think most of the time you see teams adjust and then start trying to dig after that, and that opens up the 3-ball in the second half. Or it can go the other way around. But, Rob, the tournament is about shot making. That's what it comes down to. Teams that make shots make long runs, and a lot of times clutch shots. That 2019 team wasn't the best shooting team you've ever had at Texas Tech, but you hit big shots in big moments. You hit open shots, too. That was the other part. If you get open looks in this game, which you should be able to find, then you got to knock them down. And you didn't do that the first 2 rounds, but the deeper you get, the less you can survive missing open shots.
All right, let's say you beat Arkansas. Who are you playing in the Elite Eight, Maryland or Florida?
My original pick for this one, and just out of probably stubbornness, is Maryland. I think this Maryland team is as dangerous as it gets when it comes to a starting 5. And I said, like the whistle with Toppin and the whistle with Tech, if you're in a tight whistle game, Maryland's in trouble, big time. They've got one of the best starting 5s in college basketball, but some of the least depth beyond that. So I think they are one team that could take down Florida. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen.
Are very excited for the Sweet 16. Very excited for the Elite Eight, especially if it's Texas Tech, Maryland, because then I would be very excited about the Final Four.
Yeah.
Especially if it's Michigan State. Then I'd be very excited about the national championship game against Duke.
Oh, okay.
Or Arizona. All right, we will be very excited. Until next time on the Gaslighters Podcast, we'll see you then.
This is the Ballin' Out Podcast, your weekly breakdown of Red Raider basketball from Double T 97.3 and Double T Sports Network.com.